Dear colleagues, students, good evening, everybody. I am Hussam Bagat, an Associate Professor of Architecture at the Harran Institute of Engineering, Shorouk Academy. I'm your host for this session. It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the second session of the Resilience in Architecture Education Conference. And I would like to extend my special and warm welcome to our special guests. Tonight, we have an amazing and esteemed guest speakers. I am so excited to have them all sharing with us their experience and information. Wishing all the attendees to get benefit from their presentations. It's a great opportunity to listen to their contribution and philosophy dealing with the challenges that faces the education process, especially in COVID-19 era, which forces us to use different ways and strategies in education. Resilience in education is a new concept, gives us a new dimensions and views. Now, we are about to know a lot about it through presenting best practices in distance education. Our first speaker in this session is my dear colleague, Dr. 𝑭𝑨𝑾𝒁𝒀. She's an assistant professor of architecture at the Harran Institute of Engineering, Shorouk Academy, and she is currently a member of the International Union of Conservation of Nature. She is presenting the experience of the Department of Architecture at Shorouk Academy in distance education. Let us enjoy her lecture. Dr. 𝑭𝑨𝑾𝒁𝒀.
Thank you, Dr. Hussain. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. 𝑭𝑨𝑾𝒁𝒁. I'm Dr. 𝑭𝑨𝑾𝒁𝒁. I'm assistant professor of architecture in the Institute of Engineering. I'm glad today to present this learning experience, the architecture department of the RAE Institute. Let's start first by quote for Helen Keller, who once said, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." This was one of the triggers for such a conference to allow a great opportunity for sharing multiple experiences from different higher educational institutions. The previous period witnessed tremendous changes in all life aspects, not to mention education. In March 2020, we had to start emergency remote teaching as the closure came as an emergency decision. After finishing the 2019-2020 academic year, the Ministry of Higher Education decided that under the circumstances of corona pandemic outbreak, the academic year 2020-2021 will be on blended learning system. The pandemic. After the World Health Organization officially announced the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus in the 2019-2020 academic year, and accordingly, the government announced the decision of university closure while maintaining the educational process. The commitment to distance learning became mandatory to prevent the spread of the virus. From this standpoint, and based on our roles as academic staff in the Department of Architecture, this sudden change in the educational process required finding effective ways to teach the courses through distance education. The educational process became a great challenge, seeking to achieve the maximum benefit for students and to fully communicate and transfer the knowledge. The main aim of architecture education has always been to combine principles and fine arts to achieve the basic skills and creativity, function and form. Therefore, there's no room for any deficiency in the educational process and linking the theoretical part to the practical one to ensure graduating highly qualified architects. Our emergency plan for remote teaching evolved greatly under very hard circumstances. According to the architectural logical thinking, we worked on preparing for the situation by setting our schedules for the hybrid system, adapting our plans without affecting the goals of the educational process and intended learning outcomes from all courses. The main concern was to protect our people and the public hygiene was the major consideration. We had to make sure that the learning keeps going while being able to communicate and motivate both the staff and students. The challenge we had was to keep social distance as for the global pandemic while maintain effective teaching. We had multiple changes applied to the traditional teaching method of an educational process. We turned from meeting in campus for lectures to making virtual meetings through the internet. The follow-up process got changed from being on class-based process and face-to-face interaction into being an online follow-up process. Even the assessment system and grade announcement turned to be an online mechanism through automated systems. We were able to achieve this great transformation thanks to technology. We started our virtual meetings through software such as Teams and Zoom meetings. The follow-up process as well through different applications such as Photoshop and multiple drawing applications allowed the students to present their work over virtual methods. The students as well were able to submit their work on Google Classroom and through our Academy website and Moodle. This system as well is equipped with automated correction tool for MCQ questions, which was easier for instructors. The starting point worked as follows. The project presentations turned from being campus-based into being a multimedia content to be shared virtually. With this from being paper-based into being MCQs, virtual submissions, and researches. The sessions are now online meetings. The teacher-to-student communication and vice versa is now through chats, online discussions, and submissions. The students' group work changed greatly under the social distance laws, so they started conference calls whenever possible to coordinate their group work. Project presentations as well are held as online seminars. As Dr. Sharif Hadar once said, we are moving through their world and speaking their language. We can't deny that this dramatic change has some advantages, as Dr. Magda previously mentioned, from time efficiency and time saving, and multiple other benefits. But we can't deny that it has also some disadvantages, such as that the teachers were so in short of time to prepare content for their lectures and for their academic content. Students didn't have the choice, which put them under some kind of anxiety and stress, which had a great effect on the human well-being of them. The great stress on the internet resources and infrastructure led to some people having some difficulties in connection. Students struggled greatly due to anxiety and time management problems and great workload. Sanders and Hyder said, when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower itself. This is why we had to work hard on improving the educational environment, which is referred to as the new normal. Digital transformation of online learning started by the digitalization of the content and adapting it to the new circumstances and creating new content that adapts with the new system. We had so much to work on and we had studied multiple short-term and long-term effects. The Institute devised a plan to follow up and evaluate the educational process during the closure period at the department level. This plan included four main axes. The first axis is through contacts with the administration, the dean, his assistants, and heads of departments, had weekly meetings to assess the situation by creating a WhatsApp group per course, operating 24 hours a day, and a Teams meeting for weekly meetings when necessary. Follow up with the faculty professors and their assisting body. Heads of departments made daily follow up of e-learning to monitor the activities of professors and students and provide a daily report to the dean. Follow up of students' attendance of online lectures and their activities despite the suspension of the attendance and absence policy. It was necessary to follow up the attendance of students, to follow up, register, and resolve students' complaints. The most important resource of the Institute, which was taken into consideration during the circumstances of the corona pandemic, was ensuring the efficiency of the electronic infrastructure to enable hybrid education in light of the corona pandemic. Moreover, some amendments and expansions have been applied to the e-infrastructure in order to support and cope with the required data capacity. We started by initiating the plan, communication with the students, decisions between the deans and department heads to the module leaders and academic staff. We used Zoom and Teams and SharePoint. These were the digital methods that we used to help making the educational process efficient. We used Zoom and Teams and SharePoint, Stream, YouTube, WhatsApp, Outlook, Google Classroom, WeShare, and many other applications. Some of the digital applications have been replaced by other electronic means that were activated under the website. E-learning resources, the Department of Electronic Education has been provided with pre-recorded lectures, live sessions. All the academic staff, including professors and assisting body, have been asked to set up live sessions on the Zoom and Microsoft Teams applications, where students can communicate and interact directly with their teachers to receive lectures and follow-ups. These direct sessions have been recorded and provided for students to review at any time and may enable students to communicate directly with heads of subjects to ask questions. These direct sessions have been scheduled according to the educational schedule. Live students interaction. The aforementioned sessions are considered a live platform for direct interaction for students, whereby the student can exchange information and ask questions to professors during lectures and follow-ups in addition to this direct platform. It allows the staff to directly discuss the student submission in all its forms. Live project discussions. In the field of architecture, students need a weekly reference feedback on their drawings. Therefore, the architecture engineering department developed an electronic follow-up system and provided weekly electronic sessions to students for the purpose of referencing projects and drawings. In addition to receiving students' drawings and direct follow-up on them electronically, professors use the special drawing tool annotation directly on the screen to fix the student's drawings directly so that the student benefits from his teacher as if he was sitting with him in the drawing studio, and be a direct feedback on the student's project, and discussions are exchanged between the student and the professor. Our department was lucky enough actually to have two young TAs, Mustafa and Saidi, who worked hard on setting up the e-learning system and the mechanism of lecture uploads and student submissions. I thought I should thank them actually in this presentation. Students made great output in almost every course they have been taught. Here are some work samples documenting how hard the student-professor relationship worked round the clock and made great output. We can see here some of the student submissions through Microsoft Teams software. Also here, some projects and some groups, WhatsApp groups, showing the interaction, the student-professor interaction through WhatsApp groups. This was for example, for a graduation project. This screenshot shows the Academy's model, showing the assignment submission process and grading system. The classroom as well was a use tool for submission, especially in design courses. It allows students to submit their work and then get back with the comments from the professor and the grade. Microsoft Stream was used to upload live videos of lectures as a reference for them to study from. Microsoft SharePoint as an archive for the work, as well as OneDrive. Outlook was used for the emailing between students and professors as the official corresponding way between them. We use Google Forms as well for the questionnaires and surveys for students. We used to make like monthly surveys and questionnaires to take any complaints from the students in order to improve our educational process. The calendar was used for scheduling lectures and meetings. In challenges and emergencies in the academic year 2019-2020 was that professors and teaching assistants had to work around the clock to be able to follow up students. Students faced great psychological stress and anxiety at the beginning of the new teaching system, which affected their performance at first until they got adapted to the new distance learning system, which included a student-teacher relation that allows a very close follow-up process. The need for a great storage capacity due to the increase of the volume of lectures and files on the platforms, which was solved using Microsoft Stream and OneDrive for saving their work and archiving them. Online learning have advantages as well, such as the flexibility and ease to reach people, time saving, reducing the carbon footprint as we don't need to print all our work on paper, comfortable learning environment, and improving technical skills for using all these electronic systems. But we can't deny that it also have some disadvantages, such as the slow internet speed and high cost of internet packages, the difficulty in some practical parts of courses, the difficulty to teach some courses like the design. It was a real challenge actually for all architecture students, not only in our academy. Some university professors couldn't adapt well to the online learning process, and losing the face-to-face communication is also something that affected so much the educational system. We can go now to the blended learning. Blended learning system is a mix between class-based teaching and e-learning system. It became widely used after the Ministry of Higher Education decided that during the academic year 2020 and 2021, the education system will be hybrid education, which means it's merged between class-based education and distance learning or e-learning. The hybrid education system was already evolving, but the pandemic circumstances accelerated the implementation of it. The pandemic helped us reveal our potentials and our abilities to work successfully with the hybrid system. Here we can see a very small example for the blended learning. We have online sources, and of course, we have a part of a class-based instruction. This is the more personalized learning environment for the blended learning. Assessment methods as well got affected greatly by the online system and the hybrid education. But it had some challenges as well, such as the internet connectivity issues can come into play for some students and create unnecessary stress and already stressful time. We are talking here about a real challenge, or if they are pretending, we can never know the actual reason, but we have to take it into consideration. Proctoring software meant to reduce cheating often depends on high bandwidth and surveillance technologies, which won't work for many students' home internet connectivity. This wasn't applied actually in our academy due to some technical issues. Small time windows are unfair for students who have older or slower devices. So we tend to have some alternative assessment methods, such as non-exam options. You can go for researches or something. Alternative exam options, open book exams or take-home exams, which needed a customized system of questions, not the ordinary one. Oral exams, combination, portfolio-based assessment. We can say here that the portfolio-based assessment is very suitable for architecture students, especially in architecture design courses and working drawing, as we have been using it actually before the pandemic and before the blended learning system, and having discussions and questions from participants. The assessment of student learning in an online environment changes. We can say that we are having open book and written exams. Some of them can be put into MCQ and short answer questions. Some some courses needed paper-based questions because or essay questions. So they used to upload it on PDF files and use the multimedia tools and OneDrive maybe to upload it to our Moodle, the system of our academy. The last thing, we used to hold oral exams on Teams, such as the meetings. We are regularly meeting for lectures. We made it through Teams software. Developing questions that resemble miniature cases or situations. Not all the courses, to be honest, can be examined by putting the MCQ questions. Providing a small collection of data, such as a description of a situation, a series of graphs, a paragraph, or any cluster information that might be appropriate for discipline. We can say here that some type of questions, some types of intended learning outcomes can be put and can be sorted into MCQ questions, not all of them. Maybe the most important part is that the measuring the creativity of students. This is something that cannot be measured by MCQ questions. Need to define what we need. Colleges and universities are looking to cut costs, and young people are beginning to realize that college isn't the only path to learning. Online classes from both within and without the higher education establishments will grow in popularity. We can see this in the multiple online courses that are now presented through the internet, especially after the pandemic, after the closures. A lot of people tend to attend online courses more than face-to-face courses or campus-based courses. Continuing research into the science of learning together with advances in artificial intelligence and adaptive computing will come together to create learning platforms coping with the change and responding to the individual learning needs of students. The falling price of highly stimulating and interactive media, virtual reality, extremely high definition graphics, 3D printing will contribute to an increased sense that being there isn't the most important aspect of an educational experience. We have really experienced this, that being here is not any important. We can hold or our classes or our lectures and maybe the assessment part as well. Through experience, it has been proved that Egyptian students adapted perfectly with the distance learning systems. This was proven by the results of students and surveys that were made to check the suitability of the distance learning and blended learning systems with students. The impressive part about how Egyptian university students adapted to distance learning systems is that architecture students who are studying one of the hardest engineering disciplines that need a lot of interaction, discussions, 2D-based work, and group work got adapted to the system with remarkable outputs. That was the normal lecture in 2018. This is the lecture nowadays, Teams meeting with all the students and staff. That was the application form. Most of the universities, especially governmental universities, used to go in person to fill application forms. Now everything, especially in Shorouk Academy, now is on the website. You don't need to be there. So that was my presentation documenting the distance learning experience in the higher institute engineering. This is a short biography, short description of the institute. Thanks all for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Ma, for your impressive lecture, sharing with us a deep understanding to the online education, considering the COVID-19 and its impact on architecture education.